Name of the Wind. Patrick Rothfuss. Boom. Okay, and then I want to, like, you can hyperlink in Google Docs, right? Control K? No shot, really. Thanks, Pugs. That's awesome. Why do people hate on Wise Man's Fear? There are a lot of parts of it that are just like... The whole Felurian part is a little much, right? Bro, Wind doesn't have a name. Someone should tell him that. The Lies of Lachlavor. First of all, God, I love alliteration. I'm gonna go over what each book is, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people don't know what all these are, and I hope to bring more and more people into books, because I love reading, and the only thing I love more than reading is having other people read my favorite books. So the first one, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, is about a kid with the stupidest sounding name on the planet. His name is Quoth, spelled Kvothe. It looks so dumb. Anyway, so Mr. Quoth is a legend. He is basically a myth, right? He's called the King Killer. He has all these like names and stuff, and then he's basically thought to be like dead, right, or gone. So in the very beginning, we're introduced to a character named Chronicler, who basically gets people's like he writes down like legends, and he gets people's stories and stuff. And so he's been searching for Quoth, who's again kind of like a myth, like a mythical person. We're not even like, most people aren't even sure he like really exists. And then Chronicler finds him, right? And he's just some dude running an inn, and he's like, bro, what? You're like super incredibly like this powerful wizard, man. Why are you just like running a bar or whatever? And basically coerces him into telling his story. So the books are, he's telling his story to Chronicler over the course of 3 days. And so the first book is the first day of him telling his story. So what you're reading is Quoth narrating his life, right? Surprisingly young innkeeper. Yeah, he's like 30 or something. Maybe not even that. And so, yeah, first book is him narrating his life to Chronicler over the, it's very good. Patrick Rothfuss spent so long on the first book. The second book is not quite as good as the first book, and the third book will probably never be released. But I think the first book is so good that it's worth reading on its own. I think it's so good. Quoth is also kind of a piece of shit. It's so funny because like he's young through most of it, right? Because it's the beginning of his story, so he's very young. And I remember being younger, I read it when I was like 15, 16, and I remember being like, yeah, I want to be like that guy. Like, I think he's so cool. And then the older I get, the more I think he sucks. He's like totally an asshole. Oh, damn it. He's an asshole. He's like stupid sometimes. He does some really dumb shit, like dumb young person shit, right? And I think that's really funny that the older I get, the more my experience changes with the book. Anyway, so The Lies of Lachlavor. You just can't get here. We can't have Name of the Wind be number one. Quoth is the worst character ever. I don't actually think that. I think he's a fantastic character, and I hate parts of him, and I think that's totally acceptable. Like, I don't have to love everything about the main character, right? He's like an arrogant bastard, and it gets him in trouble a lot, and I really like that. Anyway, number 2, The Lies of Lachlavor by Scott Lynch. This is so good. This is Ocean's 11 meets like low fantasy, but more adult, right? It's a little dark. There's a bunch of killing. It's also incredibly witty. Scott Lynch's like banter between the characters is some of my favorite ever. I really, really enjoy it. The characters are all clever. The characters all talk like they thought about each conversation 30 minutes later in the shower. You know what I'm talking about? Where they all have like the best like comebacks and stuff. Just like that. And it's really fun. And it's a great book. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Anyone who's read this book that I've recommended it to has not disliked it. It's so fun. There's heist stuff, right? There's like a little bit of normal fantasy stuff. There's like a bit of like a buddy comedy in there. It's just 2 thumbs up. Lies of Lachlavor. So good. So good. Number 3 is going to be the Cradle series by Will White. The romance sucks. Yeah, I guess. There's not really much of it in it. We're going to start with the first book, which is Unsold. The reason why I'm saying the Cradle series is because right now there's 11 books out. There's going to be 12. And honestly, I think the first book is the weakest in the entire series. But they're very short, like a couple hundred pages. Wondering how long it would take you to get to Cradle? Cradle is a phenomenal series, Darkodius. I'm sorry that you don't think so. It's so good. There's a reason why it went from like nothing to like one of the most popular fantasy series. It's so good. It's fine. It's so good, bro. Cradle is literary crack. It is fun. It's light. It's not like super deep. If you're looking for just like a fun, like seat of your pants, actiony, anime-esque read, then like Cradle is absolutely for you. If you're looking for like deeper fantasy and stuff like that, right, then like this isn't for you. This isn't your kind of pick. Maybe visit some of the ones that we get to a little bit lower on the list. But I recommend Cradle to a lot of people. I will post this on YouTube, yeah. I recommend Cradle to tons and tons of people. It's probably my most recommended book. So much that I have a command in Twitch chat for it. Honestly, just give it a shot. Give it a shot. It's about a guy named Lyndon who lives in... If you're familiar with it, it's like the Xansia type, like, cultivation style, like, worlds, right? Where people can, like, they get energy and they take pills and they get, like, stronger and they reach, like, higher realms of being or whatever. You know, it's like that kind of stuff, but it's very westernized. And it's really interesting because I've tried to read a lot of the like Xansia stuff and it just doesn't click with me a lot of times because the translations are rough. It is really hard to make something sound good after it's been translated, unless you like take a lot of liberties. And so Will White just decided to write his own. And so in a world where he's in like this place called Sacred Valley, there's like a few different clans and they each specialize in a different kind of like energy, right? So Lyndon's clan, they are like illusionists, basically. And each type of person is born with like one kind of power, right? They can take this like energy, however they use, whichever direction they decide to take it, right? Like I said, Lyndon's is like illusionist. These other people focus on being like, you know, using like rocks or whatever, or like being like really strong, using like force energy. It is kind of like Naruto, yeah. But each person is born with a certain affinity towards something. They can create, right? They can empower themselves, that kind of stuff. Lyndon can't do any of them. He is born unsouled, as they say. Soul like soul. That's why the first book is called Unsouled. And so it's about him trying to like make his way in the world where power is everything and he has none of it. And it goes in a direction you might not expect pretty quickly, and it is very good. I remember reading the first one and I was like, oh my god, this is a great book. I really enjoyed this book. And then I read the second one and I was like, oh damn, this is like getting really good. And then I read the third book and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I will read everything in this series now. Like, when's the next one coming out? I followed the author's blog. I followed him on Twitter, right? Like, after I read the third book called Black Flame, I was in. Full in, dude. Absolutely. Like, for me, in terms of enjoyment, my top 3 is probably right here. Like, in terms of just enjoyment, Name of the Wind, Lies of Lachlavor, Cradle series is probably the top. Can I add a little note if the series is finished? of books. And then will is 11 of 12 books. Done. There you go. Okay, number 4. If I'm going... if I'm going in terms of just enjoyment, the next one is probably Dungeon Crawler Carl. This was so vastly different from anything else I read. I think it's by Matt Dinniman. This one is interesting. Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. Yeah. Okay. So this book, let me get the things. I'm just going to show you the cover of one of them to give you like a decent idea of what we're dealing with here. This is Dungeon Crawler Carl. No, give me the cover. The cover. Okay, whatever. Can you see it? I don't want to look inside. I just want to look at the cover, please. Here we go. Okay. It's a little bit more zoomed in. So, we have here Goblin riding spiky wheel tank thing, man in leather jacket, and hard print boxers, and fluffy cat. And that is a pretty good intro of what's going to happen in this book. This book... Oh no, I lost my Amazon page. This book is crazy. The basic, like, plot, I guess, is that the world ends, right? Aliens come down, and they basically say, hey, we offered you guys, like, we sent you guys a contract or whatever, 10,000 years ago, and you didn't do anything with it, so basically your world is default. We take it. We now own it, right? We own it, and we own everything on it. And then they basically just say, like, they just flatten the entire world. The entire world just goes like this. And everything that's on top, everything that's like a building or anything man-made, just gets like flattened. Everyone in it dies. So like the vast majority of the population is just dead. And then they open these like dungeon entrances and they say, hey, people who are still alive, all 8% of human population of you or whatever it is, if you walk into the dungeons, you have like an hour to do so, or you die. And so our boy Kyle, who's just standing outside with his cat, his ex-girlfriend's cat, whose name is Princess Donut, hustles his ass on over to the dungeon, right? And basically, he's told, as well as everyone else, is that there's like 18 floors of this dungeon, and it's a reality TV show, right? It's televised to the entire like universe or galaxy or whatever. It's like the most popular thing ever. And it's like a death game. But it's the dungeon versus the people in the dungeon. But also it's kind of the people in the dungeon versus the people in the dungeon. And if you can make it all the way down to the 18th floor, you get control over the planet. If you don't, once you start getting towards like the low floors, like 10 plus, they'll start offering you things. Like if you drop out now, we'll give you this. If you drop out now, you only have to work 100 years of indentured servitude, and then we'll let you go. It's not a very good deal. But people have never made it past like floor 12 or 13 or something like that. It is wild. There's a bunch of really weird shit that happens in this book, man. Tons of weird stuff. It's like absurdist comedy, but it's also really dark, and I'm kind of glad that it's comedic, because if it wasn't, then it would be like a lot of the stuff would be really hard to stomach, because a lot of the stuff is very, very, very dark. Kind of sounds like Ready Player One meets Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah, expect Hitchhiker's Guide, like that kind of like absurdist stuff. It's like that, but in a death game. You know what I mean? So Dungeon Crawler Carl, highly recommend it. Absolutely love it. I've been reading it since it was just a wee little web fiction. Was this like 16? 15, okay. Number 5. Number 5. This is tough. This is tough. Okay, let's go a little different direction. Number 5 is going to be the 3-body problem. By, I think it's... I'm totally guessing. Cixin Liu? I struggle to pronounce Chinese names. I'm sorry. I also may have the author's name wrong. The 3-body problem. This is a science fiction trilogy. No way I got the author's name right. Oh my god, I even spelled it right. Let's go. Okay, so sorry. Dungeon Crawler Carl, I believe, has 5 of question mark books done. They're coming out pretty fast. The 3-body problem. I think it's only 5 right now. The 3-body problem is science fiction written by Chinese author Cixin Liu. And I struggle to tell you too much about it without giving things away, but it's over the course of long periods of time, thousands of years, but the first 2 books are focused on hundreds of years. So I'm going to give you guys a minor spoiler. If you don't want the minor spoiler, skip past this. I won't have a timestamp. Just keep moving the YouTube bar or mute me right now until I type out number 6, and then I won't talk about it anymore. But basically what happens is it's focused on China, because it's Chinese author, during the Cultural Revolution period of like the 40s, I think, 40s, 50s. And someone who works at some like research base or something gets access to this like super strong radar antenna system, and she's very fed up with humanity as a whole because bad things have happened to her. And she broadcasts a message into the sun, like super amplifying it through science that is probably not real and I don't understand, but it sounds good. So she broadcasts a message into the sun basically saying, we're here, come find us, right? What up, aliens? And then they get a message back, like way later. And the message back comes from a system that's like 4 light years away, or I think something like that. Not like really close. And it basically says, hey, I saw this message before like anyone else did. I'm going to erase it. Don't tell anyone. Like, don't message us again. Don't message us again. Don't message us again. Because if you do, like, my people will come to take over your planet because our planet's not safe for us anymore. And the reason it's not safe for them is because the alien civilization is on a planet that has 3 suns, hence the 3-body problem. And so the planet is like rapidly moving through like super hot and super cold times, and the alien life has like this really interesting way of like staying alive and stuff. That's a really cool fucking premise, bro. It gets so much better. I'm not even like going really into it. It's so good. And so she sends another message. She says, we are right here, come get us, right? Like, we need someone else to rule over us because humanity ain't it, bro. And so the rest of the alien civilization sees it, and we find out that they're coming, and they're like 500 years away or something. So a lot of the rest of the book is between that like 500 years. That's like the first half, I think. And then after, we have like a skip. I can't remember if it might be the second book, but I don't think so. Maybe it is. Anyway, it's about humanity trying to prepare, and you're like skipping generations and stuff, and it's super interesting. It's super incredibly interesting. Do you not find out about personal motivation until book 2? I don't know. Sorry. I may have spoiled a little bit more, but I don't think I'm spoiling anything of what makes this book really good, like, at all. And so the problem is, what Coin is saying is the first half of the first book, I think, is really tough to get into. It's originally in Chinese. The translation is like kind of tough to get into. Some of the cultural stuff is a bit of a miss, right? And yeah, so the first half of the first book, basically I spoiled the first book. Damn it, I didn't even go into the game though. But I think the first book is literally just like the prequel to the second book. I think the second book called The Dark Forest Theory, I believe, is really where the series takes off. Like, I'm basically recommending you the second book, but you have to read the first one first. You know what I mean? Like, I think the second one is so good. One of the best, like, science fiction works I've ever read in my entire life. That's how good I think the second book is. And I'm willing to, like, suffer through the first one. Not that the first one's bad. There's some, like, really interesting, intriguing stuff in there. But the second one is where your ideas go from here to here. You know what I mean? So, yeah. The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. Definitely check it out. If you're into that kind of thing. Number 6. Ooh. Is The Expanse going to end up on this list? No, it is not. It is not. I'm going to pull up my Kindle app just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I know I'm going to put Gideon the Ninth on this list. So that will probably be next. Because it's in no particular order. But I want to make sure I'm not missing anything super big. These don't include web fictions, by the way. And these are also not quite like my top 10 absolute favorites. These are like my top 10 recommendations, I think. Any Sanderson stuff? No, probably not. Although I would recommend Sanderson very highly. I don't particularly love Sanderson. His books are good. They're always like a 7.5 out of 10. Joe Abercrombie's tough. So the thing with Joe Abercrombie, before we get into the other one, I'm not going to recommend any Bretton Weeks. I don't think he makes it anywhere near my top 10. But the problem I have with Joe Abercrombie is that the payoffs at the end of the books are nice, but it feels like a goddamn slog for me to get there. Like, it's just dreary, dude. It's just depressing. There's not a single good person in a Joe Abercrombie book. Not even one. And I don't need people to be like shining bastions of humanity, but like, Jesus Christ, someone who's not like questionably evil would be like pretty nice. You know, I would love to have like one of those. Just one would be good. So yeah, I generally don't recommend Joe Abercrombie. Although when I finish a Joe Abercrombie book, I very much enjoy it. Very much enjoy it. I close the book and I go, wow, that was a really good book. And then I don't read it again. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Broken Earth is incredible. Broken Earth felt the same way, actually. Although I do think that the first Broken Earth book is like a work of art, and that maybe the last ones are not as good. But I very much enjoyed the series. Let's do Gideon the Ninth. By, oh, I don't know how to spell her name. No, search. Tasman Muir. Tasman Muir. Okay, so Gideon the Ninth's entire tagline, I'm just going to sell it to you real quick. They literally put this on the cover of the book. Gideon the Ninth. Tamsin. Ah, damn it. Gideon the Ninth is about lesbian necromancers in space. That's what it says on the cover of the book. It gets you in the door. It makes you go, maybe I should check that out. I like some of those things. That sounds really interesting to me. But Gideon the Ninth is about in my opinion, so much more than that. Gideon the Ninth, the first book, is a very interesting, almost like whodunit with necromancer space stuff. And there are lesbians in it. Like, it's really good. But I'm with Darkodius. I think Harrow, like, Gideon the Ninth, I absolutely loved. Harrow the Ninth is a much more interesting book. Now, Gideon is, like, very interesting. It's very good. It's very fun to read, and it keeps you hooked. Harrow, which is the sequel, is just interesting because it's so different. It's not the same. It doesn't have the same like hook that Gideon has, but it's really good. And then the third book, Nona, I also very much enjoyed, but for different reasons. And then I'm anxiously awaiting the fourth and the conclusion to the entire series. Gideon the Ninth, super good. Super good. It's basically about Gideon, who is this teenager, basically, that lives in the ninth house, which is basically this planet that's dedicated towards being doomy, gloomy necromancers, right? And Harrow, or Harrowhark Nonagesimus, what's the name of the series? The Lock Tomb. Harrowhark Nonagesimus is the only other person, like the only other kid, right, in the ninth house. She is like daughter to the head necromancers, and they fucking hate each other so much. And then some things happen and they have to do some stuff together, and I'm not going to spoil anything past that, but you should definitely read it. It's really fun. It's really good. Gideon's a goddamn riot, dude. She's so funny. And Harrow's funny, and all the characters are funny. Just 2 thumbs up. Read Gideon the Ninth. Okay. Number 7. What is number 7? Apparently Netflix is going to make a series about the 3-body problem. That's dope. I'm down to read that. Isn't Gideon a male name? Maybe. Who knows? Have I read The Expanse? Yeah, it did not go in the direction I wanted it to go in, so I dropped it. I read like 4 books and I was disappointed. It was good. It was a good book. But like, I wanted more hard science fiction, and it went very like soft science fiction. And I was like, oh man. So if I was in a different headspace, maybe I would have enjoyed it more. I mean, I enjoyed it enough to read it through like 3.5 books. But then after that, I was just like, oh man. Wheel of Time, Dune. I didn't like either of them. People are going to hate me for this. I think Dune's overrated. I think most of the classics are super overrated. They just like, I don't know. I just don't think they hold up as well. They're like fine. They're good books, but it's like, are they the best? Like, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? And then like, I tend to rate things really highly. Hyperion's incredible. Yeah, Hyperion's incredible. Now, if I was reading the 10 best books I've ever read, this would be a much different list. I think only The Lies of Lachlavor and maybe The Name of the Wind would still be on this list if it were the 10 best books I've ever read. But this is basically the 10 books or series I have enjoyed the most, right? It's different. I can read a book and not really like love it, but I can be like, damn, this is a really good book. It's the same thing. It's like, wow, I like this soup is incredible, but I don't love this kind of flavor, but I can understand objectively that it is very good. It's very well done, right? I can hear like an opera singer or a piece of piano music and be like, wow, that's so good. I just don't personally enjoy it. It's not my thing, but I can understand that it's very well done. And so that's not what this list is. If it was this list, you'd have, if that was the list, you'd have more stuff like Hyperion. You'd probably have some Joe Abercrombie. Hyperion was like the only book you've ever read we have to stop halfway through and say, holy shit, this is literature. Yeah, Hyperion's fucking incredible. It's so good. It's so good. It did take me, I had a couple false starts to get through Hyperion. But yeah, like, that book's insane. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any, like, super obvious ones. I do this a lot. Where I'm, like, recommending a bunch of things, and then I'm like, oh my god, why did I mention this? What's Hyperion about? It's really hard to tell you, but, it's basically a bunch of pilgrims in a spaceship. Like, 6 of them or something. And bad things are happening, and they're going to a bad place, and they start telling stories of their lives to each other, and they build on each other, and they're very interesting, and it's so good. It's so good. Red Rising will probably be in the top 10. I very much enjoyed Red Rising. I don't think it'd be in the top 10 best books again, but Red Rising will probably be there. Let's see, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 slots left. Oh, that's so tough. That's so tough. I would almost put Mistborn on there just for nostalgia. Okay, so we have Red Rising. Ooh, Speaker for the Dead. Oh, what a book. What a book. I know we all hate Orson Scott Card, but Speaker for the Dead is incredible. Read the first 3 Red Rising. Should you keep going? I don't like the second one. I don't like the second series. All right, so let's go with Red Rising. Pierce Brown? That's who wrote it, right? Red Rising is Hunger Games if it was written for adults. Not adults, young adults. 21-year-old people. Because it is the first book. That's the first book, right? The first book is like, what if we take Hunger Games and we make it edgier and better, right? And I was like, fuck yeah. Because I was like 18, right? When I read it, I was like, hell yeah. Yes, rock on. Dope. We love dystopian shit. We love badass main characters. We love first-person narratives. And then, it is good. It's very good. I still very much enjoy reading the first book of the Red Rising series. But then, the second book is like, haha, tricked you. It's actually an epic space opera. And you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. And then it's just a really good space opera. I believe that's the correct term. Big sci-fi, multiple planets, all that kind of stuff. Is this like your smash or pass list where you can hop on and give your superior take? You could certainly try, but it's my list, and I do what I want with it. Have you read Powder Mage? I started it. I read the first book and half through the second. It was good. It was good. Yeah. But yeah, I really like Red Rising. Can you make a list and share it? Yeah, I'll go over it afterwards though, because this is going to be on YouTube. Red Rising is just like, it's just fun, man. It's just a fun ass book. I cried a bit during the last book. Not ashamed to say. Hold on, let's see. Did I cry during any of these others? Yeah, I cried at the end of Gideon the Ninth. I shed a tear here. I shed a few tears here. I'm not going to tell you where. It would give it away. But there were a few tears shed during Red Rising. Absolutely. Okay. I think I should probably... I'm going to do like some subgenres with like 3 or 5 submissions later. This is just like what I'm recommending to people. You guys ready for the next one? The next one, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. What a fun book. What about Robin Hobb? I do really like some Robin Hobb. 3 of 3. 3 of 4. And 3 of 3. Not counting sequel series. Okay. Legend of the Lattes by Travis Baldree. It's so cozy, man. He calls it cozy fantasy, and I absolutely like 100% agree. Basically, it's about an orc who is in an adventuring party, and she's tired of adventuring, right? So what she does is she decides she's going to like retire from adventuring and open up a coffee shop. And that's what the entire book is about. It's about this orc who opens up a coffee shop and maybe kind of falls in love. And it's so cute, guys. It's so cute. It's just like, you know, like if you're just wrapped up in a blanket and you're sipping some tea and there's a fire and it's raining outside, that is the feeling of reading this book. That is what I got when I read the book. I just love it, man. It put a smile on my face. It's a well done book. It doesn't take itself incredibly seriously. Like it's just a good read. It's just a nice read. If you're looking for like a palate cleanser, maybe you just finished something like some really big hard book to read. Maybe you just read The 3 Body Problem, right? Or you just read Hyperion. Absolutely give Legends and Lattes a try. It's super quick. It's a couple hundred pages, right? Travis Baldree, also one of my favorite narrators for audiobooks. He does the Cradle series by Will White and a couple other series that I've enjoyed. This was his first novel, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. It has done very well, actually. Just period. Like, yeah. Check it out. 7,500 ratings. or reviews on Amazon, like super good ratings. It's a good book. I don't know how I can convince you to read it, but I'm going to try. You should read it. Like, give it a go. Don't think, cutesy stuff, that's maybe not for me. Like, just give it a shot. Easy to read. Oh, I forgot I have to get the hyperlink. So far, it's just a 1 of 1. No other books. It's a standalone. Just a fun little book. I've read Dresden Files or Jade's. I have read Dresden Files. I don't love them. I read like 4 and then I gave up on it. Yeah, I don't love them. Jade City, I tried to read, and it was a well-written book. I just didn't care about anything that was happening, so I dropped it. I got like 30% through the book, and I was like, wow, I really don't care about any of this. And then I went and read something else. That's like the thing, though, is the older I get, the more willing I am to just drop a book. Is there clearly the best app for audiobooks? I mean, I use Audible because I get the free credit every month, but that's just me. Jade City, each one gets a lot better. Yeah, but like, I have so much shit to read all the time. Like, Taylor Pratt saying this, you drop books so easily, it's very difficult for you not to finish a book. You have to understand, I'm at any given time, I'm reading 5 to 6 books. Like, all the time. Like, yesterday, I read 2 books. Like, start to finish. Yesterday. I read a lot of books, and I don't have time to slog through a 700-page book that I don't really care about. Unless people are like, yo, okay, listen, dude, like, you need to read this book. It's incredible. You have to get through the first 300 pages. First 300 pages are rough. Stick through it. And like people whose recommendations I trust, then I'll do that. Like, yeah, I mean, I've heard so much good stuff about Jade City. I'll probably try it again sometime when I'm in a different headspace. I've done that with a lot of stuff, actually. So like the Lies of Lachlavor, I bounced off twice in the first couple chapters. 3 Body Problem was really, really hard for me to get through. I had to like keep revisiting it to do it. Same thing with Hyperion. But then like I'm very, very glad I did. And usually I read the book and I go, oh, this book is really well written and people really, really like it. I should give it a shot when I'm in a different headspace, right? When maybe this concept is a little more appealing to me. Because that's the thing, is like sometimes what a book's about is not interesting to me because it's not what I'm looking for at that time. But then if I go back to it in a month or two, then all of a sudden I care about it, right? Like maybe I'm not looking for like a soft, cozy fantasy. Well, then I'm not going to pick up Legends and Lattes, right? Maybe I want something a little bit more edgy, or maybe I don't want something a little bit more edgy. Maybe I want something like less dark. You know, that changes from like day to day and stuff. As you grow older, you have both started dropping books earlier and doing more rereads. Yeah, me too, I think. There will be no Terry Pratchett on this list. I think Terry Pratchett is an incredible writer. I have yet to be able to finish a single one of his books because I don't give a single fuck about what he's writing about. He's the only author on the planet where I read a couple chapters and go, wow, that was such incredible writing. I do not care. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I feel like, and this is harsh criticism for someone who hasn't put quite enough time into like really giving him a shot, but I feel like Terry Pratchett, in my opinion, puts way too much effort on sounding cool in his writing is so good. It's so good. I wish he would try a little bit harder on that and a little bit harder on making me enjoy the story. You know what I mean? Like, just a little bit. Because I can read hundreds of pages of Terry Pratchett and not care one whit about the story. Not even a little bit. I don't give a shit about a single character, but I laugh out loud multiple times. It's like, it's the weirdest thing on the planet. I've never experienced that before. Ugh. Man's dead. He can't try much anymore. That is true. That's true. Darkodius definitely does not agree, and that's fine. That's okay. It just doesn't do it for me. I read a lot of books. I can appreciate the art, right? And I do. Every single time I read Terry Pratchett, I'm like, God damn, this guy's so fucking good. And then I get to the end of the chapter and I don't want to keep reading because I don't care. I don't care about what's happening. I don't care about the characters. I don't even know their names. None of the story beats matter to me. It's just, I just can't do it. Pratchett feels unique, doesn't work for everyone, but your favorite? Yeah, I feel like people like absolutely love Terry Pratchett. Curious what Pratchett books I've tried. Guards was the first one I tried. And then I don't remember the names, but I've tried 3 others, I think. I did some research on like Reddit and stuff and asked around. I was like, where do you recommend people start? I bounced off Pratchett earlier. Like, could you give me a recommendation and stuff like that? And it just never worked for me. It's about the witticisms and the metaphor of the story with Pratchett. And I enjoy that. I do. It's just not enough to get me through an entire book because I don't care to finish it. Like, I don't particularly care how the conflict ends, right? But I enjoy the actual physical writing. All right. Oops, that's a smiley face. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. What? Oh my god. What is the... We were literally just talking about it. It's super sad. It's just basically depression in book form being thrown at you over and over again. The main character is a kid. He's a bastard. He works with Robin Hobb. Thank you. Yep. You already knew. Yeah, I think I got to get some Robin Hobb in here. The Farseer trilogy. Now, I have heard that I think Live Ship Traders is actually better from quite a few people whose opinions I respect. But I have spent the most time with the Farseer trilogy, and I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. It's just good. It's sad. It's dreary. It's bleak. It's depressing. Yeah. Sad all the time. Just so you know. You don't see the First Law trilogy and you don't like it. I mentioned that if I were to put a top 10 best books list, there would be Joe Abercrombie on it. But the First Law trilogy is not in my top 10 most enjoyed list. It doesn't make it. I did very much enjoy it, but it's not quite up there. If you would have asked me right after I finished the Broken Earth trilogy, it would be on here. But I have a fat recency bias. Oh, that's right. I wanted to put Speaker for the Dead. I have a fat recency bias as far as books are concerned. And that's Orson Scott Card. Okay, so this I'm specifically... Go away. This I'm specifically putting not Ender's Game. Not the Ender's Game series. Speaker for the Dead. Ender's Game is an incredible book. I love Ender's Game. It's so, so good. Speaker for the Dead has absolutely nothing to do with Ender's Game, except it's technically the second book in the series. Speaker for the Dead is where Ender leaves, and he goes to a planet where there's these researchers and this other alien life form. And what happened is that... It's been a while since I've read it. But the aliens... committed an atrocity. They're not like animals, they're like aliens. It's like a sapient creatures, right? And they are doing some very big no-nos in regards to the other people there. And so Ender goes to try to figure out what's happening. And it is just an incredible book about like culture clash and accepting things that aren't like natural to you. It's very good. It shocks me that a shitty person like Orson Scott Card wrote this because it's so woke, bro. it's so good. I love Speaker for the Dead. Ender's Game I probably read 5 times, and Speaker for the Dead when I was younger I dropped. I didn't drop it. I finished it because I didn't drop books back then. But I didn't really like read it. You know what I mean? I just kind of like finished it. I don't recommend anything after Speaker for the Dead. It's just Speaker for the Dead. And I read it again later when I was closer to like 18, I think. And it really spoke to me. Lol. Puns. I love Speaker for the Dead, man. Very, very, very good. So I think that is my top 10 most enjoyed recommendations list as of today. If you ask me tomorrow, there would probably be a couple different changes, but this is going to be boom. Recommendations list. We're going to do some more after this, but this is where I'm going to cut the YouTube video. So YouTube people, go buy the books. Read them. They're good. I'll see you guys next time.